And it's just been like this shell game of trying to figure out who can lend him more and more money while he tries to like con someone else out of it. And he's gone what? Like, how old is this guy now? Like in his, is he 80 something? He's in his 80s now. Like just having lived his whole life without a real job. Yeah.
7 bankruptcies. Bankrupted a casino, which is like, you know, that's actually kind of...
You have to see the lines
impressive.
It
is impressive.
You know, I agreed to do a debate with Crooked Joe Biden on CNN with Fake Tapper. And I think they'll be fair. Does anybody think they'll be fair? I might be. No. That's all right. Then they said... Today, they said, we'd like to set up tables so you sit down. I said, I don't want to sit down for a debate. Let's go. At some point, so we're not sitting down. We're going to be standing up for the debate. And here's what you know.
It should be reminded to everyone that he almost killed Joe Biden last time when he had COVID. And was like,
yeah, that's right. He like, is that what he did? He had COVID?
He had COVID.
And like didn't tell anybody?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Shake my hand, Biden. Come on, be a man. I'm coughing into it.
All of them. So Russia going into Ukraine would have never happened. None of this stuff that you see would have happened. God. Israel would have never happened. The attack on October 7th. And you wouldn't have had inflation.
Israel,
as soon as I get back into
the Abraham Accords and many of Jared Kushner's and Donald Trump administration's actions, like moving the embassy to Jerusalem.
10,000.
He is just as responsible for October 7 as anyone else. The fact that he is saying like Israel would have never happened, October 7 would have never happened, is ridiculous when it directly happened as a direct consequence of him moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the annexed territory of Golan Heights as Israeli territory, going against international law, and also conducting the Abraham Accords, completely sidestepping the Palestinians from the conversation. That is a major reason.
Very happy. We were the most respected country in the world 4 years ago. We were respected more than our country was ever respected 4 years ago. And now we're being laughed at. We're like a joke.
Do you feel like
and that's
the
not
way
gonna happen.
This
that's
has changed? Like when you're watching him conduct this now, and the way he used to do his rallies, have they changed much at all, or have they remained pretty consistent?
It's pretty consistent. I mean, the they're laughing at us narrative is pretty funny because for obvious reasons, like one, America and its like global influence certainly got worse under the Trump administration. But beyond that, he also used to say exactly that about Obama. Like he would say that was like a major talking point for him in his earlier rallies all the way since 2016. He has definitely, I think he's just gotten boring, and he also no longer has the outsider effect that made him, especially against someone like Hillary Clinton, made him seem like an interesting person that people could bet on. But when he was president for 4 years, people still remember it, all the chaos and all the instability. It becomes a lot harder to maintain that outsider's posture.
Or before me today, we are going to make life in New York affordable again. It's gotten totally out of control. The minute Crooked Joe Biden shuffles out the door, I will rapidly rebuild the greatest economy, the history of the world. Look, we had the greatest economy in history. Everybody here, where you have a small business or if you had a job, you were getting more than you ever made. And we had no inflation. We had no 1.4%, considered better than none, because frankly, none in its own way is a bad thing also. We had a
The Economist
perfect number, 1.4%.
This is the only avenue of attack against the Biden administration that is like actually pretty salient, I would say.
Yeah.
Because that is like universally the number one thing both Democrats and Republicans criticize this administration on. Despite the fact that inflation obviously is, I mean, there's many different ways of dealing with it, but we never engage in any sort of like, we never engage in legislative action to combat inflation. No deflationary mechanisms exist in the minds of American politicians for the most part, and only monetary policy. So
we had great people.
Exactly. I mean, and one of the best ways actually pursues with antitrust. Like, we need to break them up. Like, we need to break up a lot of these massive corporations and companies and be aggressive and going after them. And the one bright spot in this is Lena Khan at the FTC.
Oh yeah,
she's like DOJ today announcing that they're going after Ticketmaster. She's but Lena Khan at the FTC has been
going after Amazon,
going after all of them, going after Amazon. They even went after certain consumer protections, like Rite Aid started rolling out the facial recognition AI in their cameras, and this starts just sending tons of people to jail, and it's like notoriously unreliable, and also there's a lot of algorithmic racial bias in these. But yeah, so they started going after them, and Rite Aid got a judgment against them. The problem is that we need more Democrats when we actually have the gavels in these places to do antitrust policy. And there's just like so much corrupt influences from these large lobbies, especially in tech. I actually think there's like a huge amount of influence in tech. And a lot of Democrats that take corporate money, I think that's one of the reasons why antitrust doesn't get as much legislative momentum. But we do have people, again, like Lena Khan, that are doing an awesome job.
They're the ones that are affected most by what's happening. Not only the fact that you've lost the use of your schools, your parks, and your hospitals. Joe Biden's inflation.
I love New Yorkers in the Bronx chanting "Build the Wall."
I was just gonna say, chanting "Build the Wall" in the middle of the Bronx. It's insane.
People saying, like, people having anti-immigrant sentiment in New York, one of the most diverse places on the planet, is ridiculous.
And it was going to be, we're going to add 200 miles of wall. It would have taken about 3 weeks. And then we had the rigged election. And you know what happened after the rigged election? They took the wall, and instead of putting it up, they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. And I said, these people really do want to have an open border. And that's
this is another aspect. I mean, I am a lot more critical of the Biden administration, obviously very publicly. But this is another aspect of like the Trump conversation that is very frustrating, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, well, you know, build the wall, build the wall. Meanwhile, Biden has pushed through a funding mechanism that will literally complete the border wall, while also simultaneously administration doing eminent domain too. In order to continue building the wall, which I think is both bad policy and bad politics in general. But these people don't care because, you know, they are operating on pure resentment. And that is partially the reason why we shouldn't ever capitulate to the right-wing framing on immigration, in my opinion.
Absolutely. This is one of the issues that I think frustrates me the most, because this is where we see some of the most capitulation to the right. And the problem is that this resentment will never be fed. And so very often I'll see like Democrats trying to like play this political game, like this whole thing with HR2 and this border bill that with Republicans, and trying to do this whole thing about, oh, like we came up with a tough border bill and Republicans rejected it as though it was some kind of solution. But the problem is that we've been through so many cycles of this where Trump or Republicans in general or Fox News, they'll do this whole like racial panic thing and incite this whole sense of an emergency or chaos on the border. And then it resonates in Washington, D.C., and all these Democrats start freaking out, and they cobble together some bill that plows a bunch more money to CBP, plows a bunch more money into border facilities. And sometimes they will put money towards like some good things too. Like they will all in the same bill. They will have money for CBP and ICE, but then they'll also put in a lot of money to like HHS and like the kids centers and like the humanitarian centers and stuff like that. But the problem is that none of this resource stuff solves the problem. Right now, CBP is the largest law enforcement force in the United States. The thing is like they'll pour and pour and pour all these resources, all these new technologies, everything. But the problem is not about money. The problem is that we don't have a path to citizenship in the United States. And not only that,
it's a matter of processing. It's a processing issue, and they never talk about it. Or Democrats used to talk about it from the framework of like immigration is a problem. It's not even a problem at all, but it's like it's at its most, it is a problem with the legal status that these people do not have. The solution to it is to immediately open up pathways to citizenship, and then the undocumented migrants can also work along